The writer's strike is over. Will the actors soon follow? And will the speculation market be back in force? Maybe not. Let's take a look at speculation comics coming up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Hit notifications. We do shows on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Our episodes drop. So I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by and joining me and talking about some comic books. You can also follow us on other socials. Bronzeville_comics on Instagram. Bronzeville_comics on Whatnot. I do sales Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. There is a link in the description of this video to get $10 off your first purchase if you sign up using that Whatnot link. You don't have to purchase with me. It can be with anybody. Also in the description of this video is a link to my eBay store as well as my email. So thanks for stopping by. So the writer's strike was just ended, and James Gunn wasted no time making some announcements. One that made me very happy. He announced, well, kind of three sort of casting announcements, and then he made an overall announcement basically saying that the Creature Commandos animated series on Max, formerly known as HBO Max, is going to be the start of canonically his new and Peter Safran's new DC universe. Everything that gone before is not going to be canon necessarily to that universe, but he did announce 3 characters where the casting is going to continue. And I'm sure these aren't the only ones. And 2 of them were completely expected because projects have already been announced. And one of them I'm really pleased about. He announced that John Cena is going to continue in the role of Peacemaker. No surprise there. A season 2 is unannounced, but eventually coming. And I'm sure he'll be part of the Waller series, which also had Viola Davis, is going to be Amanda Waller, one of the finest actors working today, an EGOT winner, and really kind of the character, I think, is going to be sort of the Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury version from the MCU, where she's going to be kind of the overarching character that we're going to see in a lot of different projects, because I think she's going to be running things behind the scenes and in many ways going to be an antagonist for a lot of different heroic characters. And the casting announcement I was so pleased to hear was that Xolo Maridueña is going to reprise his role as Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. So that leads us to a few things and some speculation, as it were. Now, speculation over the course of, let's say, the last 3 years, since COVID and the comic boom of 2021, 2022, something is rumored, prices go up, anticipation builds, and we've seen this. I'm going to talk about Marvel characters initially, and then we're going to talk more specifically about DC. And then maybe casting announcement is made, and we kind of hit a crescendo. Sometimes we hit a crescendo when a trailer is released, and there is often a buildup leading up to the show. For instance, a lot of anticipation during the comic boom that has since waned. Let's say a character like Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four 48, really exploded, also did 49. And then that book has come back down. And let's take a look. I want to actually look at actual books here. Let's present. Share screen. Actually, hold on. Okay, we got a little bit of an infinity thing going on. So let's go to Go Collect. And let's look at Fantastic Four 48. Now, I have two copies of this. I have a 7.5 that I spent a lot of money on, and I have a 6.5 that I essentially bought for $4. Um, it was part of a collection. So let's see. Let's look at the most common grade, which is the 5.0, right? And look at what has happened with this book over time. Boom, right? It was slowly building 200 and 300. And as we get to sold price, okay, sold price 1,600, 1,100, right? Then we're hitting just over $1,000 in 2020. And then we go all the way up to like 3,000, 3,600, triples in value. And then it's come all the way back down to about 1,300. The most recent sale, recorded sale of 1,205. So that is a book that rose in value and then declined, which is interesting because it's a Silver Age key. Another character, a lot of speculation about, probably eventually coming, is Ghost Rider. First appearance in Marvel Spotlight 5. Most commonly sold grade is an 8.0. We won't even talk about the 9.8, which went for what, $250,000. And we can see here, boom, comic boom, sold price $6,700. And now it's down to about $2,000. So the speculation built up around that character, which now we talk about casting announcements. And there was, what is the, I have to, I'm forgetting off the top of my head. What was Key Collector Comics. I want to pick, let's go with Adam Warlock's first full appearance in, is that in Thor 165. Okay. I couldn't remember the issue number off the top of my head. So that book jumped, most commonly sold in a 7.5. That book waited a little bit of a while. It had the comic boom in 2021, and then we got the announcement. The casting announcement went up to $1,300, and that has since the movie came out. And Warlock was probably, his depiction was probably the weakest part of the Guardians film, in my opinion. And now the most recent sale, $360, where we had been at a high of $1,500. So we can see, and those are all Silver and Bronze Age keys. And there is a distinction here between Bronze Age and earlier and modern books. Because what happens in a modern book oftentimes is that there are a lot more books that then get graded in high grade. These books, especially Spotlight 5, FF48, were well-established keys before the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever existed. And I want to kind of transition over to DC for a minute. Now, DC has had a lot of excitement when James Gunn made those initial announcements. And we had books like House of Secrets 92 with Swamp Thing 1, Booster Gold 1, and more recently, Gunn made announcements about characters who were going to appear in Superman Legacy. Guy Gardner, so Green Lantern 58 popped. Brave and the Bold 58, I believe it is, with Metamorpho's first appearance. And then also an interesting, so let's go back to his original announcement. And I want to look at raw values because that is going to be where we're going to see more things going on. Don't I have the right issue number? Creature Commandos was Weird War 93. I recognize the cover. I should know the issue number better. Okay, so this is a book. Let's look at high grade raw values. Right? So a lot of first appearance of the Creature Commandos. And we see that high grade, very fine near mint books selling for around $200. But let's look at how that has changed over time. We'll look at the very fine. So we go back to, when did he make the announcement on that? It was earlier in the year. I want to look up the news source. James Gunn, DCU, Slate. Creature Commandos. Actually, it would be probably under January. So January, the announcement was made. So let's look at the values here. There were really no sales. Look at the book. This is very fine copies. This is during the comic boom. $4, $14, $35, $60, $30. Then all of a sudden, announcement is made. 95, 100, 100, 100, 100, 200, 240, 60 for a 7.0. And these are for very fine copies. So that what my point is on speculation, that unexpected speculation really jumps the values of these books, right? We're looking here, if we look at the high grade copy, right? $90 in October, a $48 sale. That was probably something that was already on eBay when the announcement was made, and somebody just jumped on it. And then later that month, $135, $120, a $68 sale, and then a $260 sale. Let's look at graded prices. And here is where, how many people had Weird War Tales 93 already graded when the announcement was made? This is a book from, 1980? Yep. Look at the sales. 7, 9, census counts. Very low, right? So the most common sale was, let's say, a 9.6. We really only have a 1-year average, right? This book was hovering around $100, a 9.6 for a 1980 book of a first appearance that does have its followers. And then bam, all of a sudden it jumps from 142 to 700, right? And then back down to 560. And that's kind of where we are, right? Post announcement. And I don't know what there are only 124 graded copies on the Universal, and then 8 signatures on the census. So still not a lot, considering the announcement of that character or those characters. Another book that even more modern that has kind of taken people by storm was Mr. Terrific. Now that announcement was more recent. We need the second Mr. Terrific in July. Eddie Gathegi is going to portray Mr. Terrific, the second one, Michael Holt version. Specter 54. Again, a book, a modern book that not a lot of people, we can't really go by graded prices before and after because nobody was buying that graded. So we have to kind of look at raw prices. We can look at high grade copies because it is a 1997 book. So you're going to find it more often than not in high grade. So let's look at historical sales data, right? And this was a book there had been some speculation about. So we can see it was a $50 book, right? Through the comic boom in January 58. And then all of a sudden, a 76 in February. And then all of a sudden it doubles, right? 105, 132, 117, 200, 105 for high grade copies. Now, if we look at the graded copies on Go Collect, we're going to look at the 9.8. I'm sure that's the most commonly sold grade. Yep, 48 sales. Now, how many people had this book already graded? A little bit of speculation. I think Gunn had teased this character. Maybe there was an Instagram, Twitter post or something. So we're talking about $300 book, right? Down to about $200. And then it climbs, and then it hits $500 in April. And then we get the announcement, and it's up at $700. It hits, look at this. Somebody had it when the announcement was made, sold it for $1,000. So that pretty quickly doubled. Again, there are 216 on the census, 83 in a 9.8 and 11 signature in a 9.8. So there are a lot. 42% of all graded copies are 9.8s. And the lesser value copies still commanded some respect. We're talking 150 or so dollars for a 9.4, because how many people, even over $100 in a 9.2? Not a lot of people were buying Specter in 1997 when it got to issue number 54. I was. I have a copy in my personal collection. Of course, I have the entire run. But unfortunately, as a collector, I haven't had it graded, and I'm not really in a rush to get rid of it. And I'm a Justice Society guy, so I do like the Michael Holt character. Did have a really good storyline in JSA Classified, like in the 2008 era. So yeah, just an interesting character. Another character, and what happens with DC sometimes is the character doesn't pop until we actually see them in the movie. And it's a very odd thing. Superman #4 from 1987, the John Byrne run, first appearance of Bloodsport, who's played by Idris Elba. Let's look at 9.8s. And also we look at the rise and the crash, right? So we're talking here, right? It was under $100 in a 9.8. Then it jumps to about 170, right? And it bounces around. Then it's up to about 250. And then the movie comes out. This is when the movie was released. It jumps to 316. I think there's actually higher sales than that because I sold 2 copies right around that time, both 9.8s. And then now it has come crashing down, and it's under $100 again. It retreated to where it was, and probably a little bit lower, because even though the book is from 1987, still it was a John Byrne Superman run. Tons of copies out there, tons of copies. So if we look at the census, boom, 1,000 copies on the census, right? 32% of them, a third of them essentially in 9.8s. Interesting. Very few signatures because John Byrne doesn't sign stuff. So that is an example. And another example of that in Marvel is Amazing Spider-Man 361, where the market for a graded copy exists when there is a lack of supply and the demand takes over. Now we can look at that same Suicide Squad movie and the first appearance of the Polka Dot Man in Detective Comics 300. Now this is a Silver Age book, so there aren't a ton of them out there, right? And the most commonly sold, so this, I mean, the most common sold is like 16 and an 8.5, which is pretty high grade for that era. I don't think, yeah. Because the other thing too is, a few years ago, who was really grading that book in lower grade, but look at what happened here. And we have it jumped up from like about a $200-ish book. And then all of a sudden the movie comes out, boom, and we're jumping to nearly $1,000. But, and we just had a sale a couple months ago for 900. So actually it jumped up, and it's continued to go up because, I mean, an 8.5, it is hard to find, I guess. Let's go to a 6.0 and see if what's happened there. Again, very few sales. 5.5. Yeah, a few more sales. A 5.80. So that was a book that did get a boost because, again, nobody was speculating on it. So can you speculate on DC characters? Yes. We just heard of Amanda Waller, right? So Legends #1. It's her first appearance. Again, a ton of copies out there. 700 graded, more than a third of them in a 9.8. And that book has not really done much. I mean, it was in 2015, it was at $200. Was that when Waller first appeared in a movie? I'm trying to think. Let's see. Oops. Man. DC Comics character. Let's see the fictional universe. casting Viola Davis. It was cast to play Waller in Suicide Squad, which was a 2016 film. So 2015 would have been when probably the announcement was made. Then it jumped, leveled back down to a very cheap book for many years, jumped back up during the boom, and then has been, I mean, a 9.8 hovers around $100. So interestingly, for such a key character, not a lot of demand for this book. I think it doesn't help that she's not on the cover. And that this was one of the crossover books. This was DC's first major crossover after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So there were a lot of these printed. So even though it's just 717 Universal on the census, there are a lot of raw copies out there and a lot of high-grade raw copies. Not that people were necessarily speculating on it, but a lot of people just have this book because, you know, it was that company-wide crossover that everybody was buying. So that is interesting. We also got the announcement that Zola Maridueña is going to continue as Blue Beetle, his first full appearance in Infinite Crisis 5. I'm going to look at specifically the Lee cover, which is the variant cover, which has Blue Beetle on the cover. That is the pricier book over the George Perez cover. And sometimes Go Collect does not want to open up these other tabs. I don't know. The links within their site sometimes don't really work. Come on. Give us Infinite Crisis. There we go. And we'll look at 9.8 and 9.6 are approximately the same number. Let's look at the 9.8. I don't have one yet. And this is a book. I guess we got an announcement here. It jumps from a sub $100 book up to $300. And then it kind of cools off. And then we jump up in sold price to consistently in 2021, close to $500. It comes back down. It drops a lot when the movie in 92, which is interesting. Movie hype brings it up to about 200, and it has been on a steady decline since then. But still a $200 plus book, actually just 100, actually under 200 in supply and demand. There's an increased supply of this book. We have 1,600 Universals, 45% of them in a 9.8, which isn't surprising. It is a glossy cardstock cover that is susceptible to spine ticks and stuff, but it's a little bit heavier cardstock, so it does, if it's kept well, it can hold up pretty well. It's difficult to press though, and you have to watch. There's a very black back cover, so fingerprints you have to watch out for on that. So that's one of the few books when I'm cleaning and pressing, I will wear gloves because it picks up fingerprints very easily. But they can, with a little bit of steam and a cotton round, they're gone. And the other announcement was Peacemaker, and this is a very hard book to get. His first appearance in Fightin' 5, number 40, a Charlton comic from 1966, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 1966. Not a lot of sale. A 13 in a 7.5 is the most common, and that's about $1,000 book. And it really no sales prior to 2020. Boom, jumps up to $2,000 and hovers around there, goes up to 2,500, and it is cooled off to about 1,000. So it's gone up to about 2 and down to about 1 way back in April. So again, this is a hard book to find. It is a Charlton war book. He's not on the cover. And the other thing about this book is it's almost the issue number is really tiny here. I found this in a collection that the guy who was selling the collection didn't really know what it was because it's not it hasn't always been a big key. So just kind of to wrap up, are we going to be in the speculation market? To a degree. We have to separate speculation from go back to full screen. We have to separate speculation from the comic boom. During the comic boom, people were speculating on everything. First appearance of Mephisto, Omega Red, who's going to show up in the next Disney Plus series. Black Chrysanthemum and is Adam Legend of the Blue Marvel going to be in WandaVision? Are we going to see who was the character? The Sharon Carter character, the Power Broker. I think that first appearance was in a Machine Man book. So there's speculation based on what we think is going to happen, and we can make educated guesses. And there's speculation on rumors, and then once news breaks, prices start to go up. You have to get lucky, right? That you happen to collect Creature Commandos and you had Weird War Tales 93. That wasn't a book that people were speculating on. Nobody was speculating on, and that commonly happens if we look over the past couple of years. But during comic boom, speculation went wild, and speculation spread to minor keys. And this is something that you really have to be careful of. In 2021, 2022, you watch people who went over the hot lists and everything, and they were talking about, can't get the first appearance, get the second appearance. Can't get the second appearance, get the first solo story. Get the first issue of their own series. That has petered out a little bit, right? Because now people can afford that first appearance for the most part. Classic example is Moon Knight. Werewolf by Night 32 is still a big key. But Marvel Spotlight 28, Moon Knight #1, they've come back down to earth. And Werewolf by Night 32, or 33, I should say as well. The second appearance, the first solo story, the first solo issue. Those have calmed down. Spider-Woman #1 has calmed down. Way, way down. Ms. Marvel #1. Carol Danvers' first solo comic. So those secondary keys, I don't think have held value as well. Now, I'm going to talk from the perspective of a DC fan, right? And if you've been watching the channel, I've made a number of videos about DC books to look out for. And there's a wide range that I will pick up cheap. And I'll pick them up because I like them. I want to have them in my collection. If I spend $5, $10 on a book and it doesn't go anywhere, it's no big deal, right? And if I could sell it for about the same amount, again, it's no big deal. It's not a book that I am overpaying for. So it kind of goes back to the idea, collect what you like. If you're lucky enough that something that you like ends up hitting, great. But don't expect it. Don't chase it. Right? There are characters that I still speculate on. I'll be honest. And if you watch my videos, you know who they are. I pick up a lot of Shade the Changing Man. I picked up the first appearance of Vixen. I'm looking for first appearance of Karen Beecher Bumblebee. I did go heavy on Jaime Reyes, and that paid off. And then we can make educated guesses about what DC might do in the future, but those are just guesses. And you're going to be wrong a lot more often than you're going to be right. So collect books that you don't mind having in your own personal collection. I like Legion of Superheroes. I've been collecting first appearances of those characters from the early Silver Age. Still have to get a Adventure 247, but that's a book that's always going to be a high grade, a high level key, a blue chip key, a grail. But there's second appearance and first appearance of those characters that premiered early on in the Silver Age. Those I still like to collect. The Mon-Els, the Brainiac 5s, the Matter Eater lads, etc. And going up into the Bronze Age. I like having them. Just think about, I'm not going to show you the numbers, but just think about what happened to Shazam 28, the first modern appearance of Black Adam. Blew up, Movie comes out, crashes the value of the book. So sometimes it works out. In Justice Society of America #1, the first appearance of Cyclone. She was in Black Adam. We're going to see her again. Maybe not. I don't know. First appearance of Isis. Maybe not. So, again, I never paid big money for those books. I didn't go out and, pay above fair market value. I look for deals. I see them in a bin, pick them up. Worst, I have some extra books in a bin. Listen, I have plenty of Superman 75s. It happens. X-Men 1s. You get them as part of collections. So again, the point is, go with what you enjoy. Books that you like, characters you like. If it ends up hitting and you have a duplicate, so be it. That's great. If you want to, if you enjoy playing that kind of speculation game, I'm interested in this character, that character. I know, I watch Lunch Money Comics, and I got your tag. I will do that at some point. There's a specific book I have to find. I don't have it slabbed, but I have to find for my top 10 list. He likes Justice League Dark characters. So do I. So he's been picking up some of those first appearances. He got a Black Orchid first appearance recently. I guess I wasn't there. Justice League Dark is difficult though. It's, I think, solid spec, and like Zatanna is a pricey first appearance, but not even close to some of the others. I mean, Swamp Thing is a pricey first appearance, but try to get the first appearance of Phantom Stranger or Detective Chimp or Dr. Fate or Zatara. Impossible. But it's kind of fun. And when you see these announcements, if you're like, I have that book, my problem is I have such a mess. I don't know where they are. I have 2 copies of the first appearance of Metamorpho. I don't know where they are. And I know one is better than the other. I think they're probably in a pile over there somewhere, or maybe they're in a box for me to filter into my collection. I'm not sure. So I didn't have the opportunity to jump on that announcement when it was first made and sell my undercopy. If I was more organized, I would. And that is something I need to do. So anyway, that's about it for this video. Let me know what you think. What properties are you looking forward to? What do you think of James Gunn's announcement, with Blue Beetle, Amanda Waller, and Peacemaker coming back? Are you looking forward to Creature Commandos? Are you tired of DC? Are you a Snyderverse only person? Let me know in the comments below. Keep it civil. Have fun. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you spending time with me talking about comic books. You can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.